Greetings and welcome to week 6 of Intro to Law Enforcement. Uh, Another great week. I have so much fun with these weeks. This week we're in constitutional law, kind of the rules of law enforcement, the rules we have to play and work by. We in the future, next year, if you're part of the justice program here, we'll be offering a full class on constitutional law, and it's fun. Those of you that have grown up on, I don't know, 30-some seasons of Law and Order are familiar with a lot of these premises and rules and stuff. You know about probable cause, you know about search warrants, you know about Miranda, a lot more than us dinosaurs did back in the day when we didn't have programs like that to grow up on. Uh, but a really fun class. We'll be discussing the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendments. We'll be looking at, again, probable cause and Miranda and those type of things. I know that if you get the same Facebook feed that I do, everybody in the whole world seems to think the Second Amendment is about the only amendment that counts for anything. But the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth are our bread and butter, and those are the rules that we live by. So, and it's just fun. It's just fun to look at the ins and outs and what the court says you can do this week and what the court says you can't do next week. Discussion board's a little confusing, and I apologize. It's not very well worded. I know what I want. I don't know that I asked for it very well. We're going to look at our state constitution compared to the federal, the national constitution. On the national level, and we'll be looking at the Bill of Rights here like we were saying, the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendments, those are the rules that apply to everybody nationwide, all 50 states. That's what the federal Supreme Court rules on. Every state, though, obviously, has a state constitution, and depending on when a state became a state, it flavors their particular constitution. You know, we've got a couple hundred years separating the first state and the last state, which we're darn near of course. And the pendulum swings back and forth all during this historical period. Sometimes the nation is in a very liberal mood, sometimes it's in a very conservative mood, and that flavors what the state constitution reads like. So there are those, so you'll have differences on what you can and can't do on the state level, and that's what I'm looking for here. I put one little brief example in there in the description of the discussion board this week. In Alaska, I have to record whenever I talk to you. If I sit down and I do an interview, if I sit down and do an interrogation, if I contact you out on the street, I'm supposed to record all of those conversations. And our state constitution says that's for your protection. You know, we'll have a permanent record of what was and wasn't said. Conversely, Washington State, where I came from, is exactly the opposite. It is a no recording state. I can't record anything, any conversations, unless I have your permission or I have a warrant. Washington was one of the last states to get dash cams, to get the little camera that sat on the dashboard of your patrol car to show what was going on, like during a traffic stop or something. We were one of the last states, and it's very heavily regulated because, again, Washington forbids any kind of recording that you're not aware of and you don't give consent to. So, and those are some of the little idiosyncrasies that are built into a state constitution. In the announcement page, I gave you a couple of links to the legal manual that the Alaska Police Standards Council puts out. And these explain court decisions. So what I'm really looking for this week, what I really want to discuss is The textbook will tell you what is and isn't probable cause on a national level, whether or not you can search a vehicle or not on a national level, when you have to read somebody their rights on a national level. I want you to look at these um, legal rulings off the two links I gave you on the announcement page, and those are the interpretations of the Alaska court rulings. So just kind of browse, just kind of peruse them, just click on the ones that look interesting, read those up and see if you can find some differences where you can say, wow, the text says, the US Supreme Court says we do this, but here's this ruling, this interpretation of this ruling that says we do just the opposite. So that's really what I'm looking for. There's a misconception, and I want you to find it. You'll look and you'll find it. There's been a misconception here forever that, or at least for a long time, that marijuana is legal in Alaska. You're allowed to have it. Not true. Now, I think we're going to be voting on that pretty soon, whether or not you can have recreational use like Washington and Colorado just passed. But where that misconception comes from is what's called the Raven decision, and you'll be able to find it in that legal manual. And what it is it's a privacy case. It has nothing to do with marijuana, except that the courts have ruled that our constitutional right to privacy in Alaska is so strong, is so much stronger than what it is in the Fed Constitution, that we're not allowed to go in your house for minute quantities of pot. So it's not that the pot's legal. What it is that your house is so protected in this state. So that's what I want you to find. I want you to find little idiosyncrasies and differences. You're going to find some neat stuff. We're one of the very, very, very few states. We might be the only state. I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up. That doesn't recognize what's called the Carroll Doctrine. Everybody in all the other states recognizes the Carroll Doctrine. This is a rule about searching cars, and it's left over from the Prohibition days, and way back in the day, much older than I am for once finally. The Fed courts ruled that if you stopped a car, you were able to search it without a warrant if you had probable cause, because you couldn't get a warrant. If you ran back into town and found a judge and got a warrant and came back out to where that car was at, this is way before cell phones and faxes and anything. Well, the car was gone. So that didn't work. So you were allowed to search a car on probable cause without a warrant. Alaska doesn't recognize that. So, and you'll find that in these legal bulletins. So that's what I want you to find. How are we different? How are we the same? Good discussion, I hope. The discussion board, again, I don't know what it is, but we're getting just terrible in this class participation. Every week it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. We started out with 14 participants in week 1 on the discussion board, and so far last week we've had 7 out of this class. So we're not doing well. The discussion board